everybody is doing absolutely well. I want to start today's session by asking an amazing question as we stream onto YouTube, as we're inside of our private room. And that question is, how many of you guys are the primary income generator, the primary breadwinner, as they say, of your home? If that's you, just write in the comments, that's me. All right, and a great big good morning to all of you guys, both of you guys in the private room, those of you guys inside of the live stream over on YouTube as well. So this is the question we're starting with today. The question we're starting with today is, how many of you guys are the primary breadwinner, are the primary income generator of your home? If that's you, just write in the comments, that's me. We've got Emmanuel in the house. Emmanuel says, that's me, all right? And I want you guys to think about this for a moment, because this is going to help you move further, faster in your future, okay? Now, we're starting from this point because this point is crucial to where we're going. We got Tyrone in the house. Tyrone says, that's me, okay? And like I said, this initial point is super crucial for where we're going to be going in today's session. So if you're joining us on the live stream out there in the YouTube world, I want you to ask yourself the same question. Am I the primary income generator? Am I the primary sole breadwinner of revenue in my home? All right? And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is our Men's Bible and Breakfast session, February 2025, and we're going to jump in. It's all live. We've got so much to share. We don't have that much time. So as a result, I'm going to go straight in. So here's the second question I've got for you in light of your first answer. If you're one of those people like me who've thrown in the comments, that's me. If that's you, here's the second question I have for you. If you were able to simply discover how to double, how to triple, how to quadruple, or even more your income, would that be of interest to you? If it would, just write in the comments, it would. So I know I'm talking to the right people today. Now, today we're going to be speaking about something very, very interesting, something very, very different, something that I don't think you've ever heard anyone speak about before. I'm going to be providing you with a number of keys out of the Bible to help you move further, faster in your future. But not only am I going to be doing that, I'm also going to be showing you exactly through the life of other people how this works. I'm going to be showing you exactly through the life of other people how people have been caught on the bad side, which is what we call a non-example, and also on the good side, which is what we call an example of the exact things I'm going to be sharing with you today. Okay? So before we get deeper into today's session, just as a kind of introduction, a real nice introduction to allow all of this stuff to start to hit home straight away. Here's a question I have for you. When people ask you, like some of you on YouTube would have seen the thumbnail, it says, how are you doing, right? When people ask you, how are you doing? Here's my question to you. Why do you generally say some variant of, I'm good? Okay? Those of you in a private room, let me know in the chat. Okay? And let me know if I'm even wrong. If I'm wrong, yo, Samuel, that's not right. If that's not right, let me know in the chat. Those of you joining us on YouTube, let us know in the live chat. Those of you joining us inside of the private room, let us know in the private chat, right? Why is it that when people are asked the simple question, how are you doing, or how are you doing today, that most people, many people, tend to say, I'm good, or I'm okay, or some variant of that like style or type of message? Why does that happen? Okay, you guys let me know, right? Because in today's session, not only am I going to show you why that happens, in today's session you're also going to be equipped with an understanding of how to make the various changes that may be necessary in order for you to succeed in your life, not only from a verbal perspective of, okay, now I'm saying the right things, but also from a practical perspective in terms of you doing the right things as well. If that's of interest to you, just write yes in the comments so I know that this is something of interest to you. All right? Now, I submit to you that the reason why many of us, and I'm going to write this down so you guys can have this for those of you who are like me who are taking notes, the reason why many of us, when asked questions like, how are you doing, or how are you doing today, we automatically provide specific answers. Now, here's the thing. Here's a bit of homework, early homework for those of you who want to check out, is Samuel right on this or is Samuel wrong on this? What I'd like you to do is carry around a small notepad, right? A small notepad. Doesn't have to be too big. Can literally be this size, right? Carry around a small notepad. And as you carry this notepad around, when people ask you questions like, how are you doing? I want you to just answer naturally. And then when you remember, oh, Samuel gave me homework, I want you to take your pen, and with your pen, I want you to write down the answer you gave them. Okay? And I want you to do that for about 14 days, 2 weeks. Okay? Now, what I am going to share with you is going to be quite interesting. I'm going to share with you the results of your homework. Because what would happen if you spent the next 14 days writing down your automatic, okay, keyword, say it again, your automatic responses to people asking you, how are you doing, is you will find at the end of 14 days, the 100 or so entries, maybe more, depending on how many people you connect with, you will find that the overwhelming majority of those answers are the same. And you might be saying to yourself, Samuel, how do you know that? Samuel, why is that the case? That is the case because psychologists have done extensive research and studies and found that an overwhelming majority, over 70% of thinking patterns, of thought patterns in the human brain are repetitive. Someone write in the comments, it's on repeat. An overwhelming majority of thoughts in your brain literally are on repeat. You see, if those of you are someone who's gone and done research into what we call neuroplasticity, this is our ability as human beings to rewire, or some people might call it to hotwire, our mainframe. To literally alter the way our brain thinks about things. We have that ability. It's called, scientifically, it's called neuroplasticity. Your ability to change the way you think about things, okay? Now, here's a good question. Why do we need neuroplasticity? Well, the reason we need neuroplasticity is because we've discovered, as mankind, that an overwhelming majority of our thoughts are just repetitive. They're on repeat. They're on repeat. Now, here's a good question to ask. If it's on repeat, what does that mean about your future? Okay? Now, I don't want anyone to necessarily throw the answer in the comment. I don't know if anyone's that bold, but I want you to think about that for a moment. If an overwhelming majority of your thoughts, if an overwhelming majority of your mindset, if an overwhelming majority of your actions, which are byproducts of your thought, are on repeat, what does that mean? It means we are destined to repeat the things that we do not desire. We are destined to achieve the things that we do not require. You see, I want you to think about this. I want you to take a moment and consider, if the overwhelming majority of things you think in your mind are on repeat, what does that destine your future to look like? Today, what I'm going to be sharing with you is how you curate. Let's do this. Get you guys inside of the session the way we're supposed to. We're going to be sharing with you guys in today's session how you can curate your own conflict catalog. You see, and I'm going to share something with you because I want you guys to really understand this really in depth, okay? The reason why an overwhelming majority of our thoughts are on repeat is because our brains, someone write in the comments brain, our brains are conflict resolution machines. Okay, I'm going to say this again. And listen, guys, I know this session might get a bit scientific, right? And if you're someone who knows someone who needs this help, I'm going to advise you to share this session with them, whether it's on a replay or right now live. If you want someone to get the most out of it, you know they need to be here live, right? If you're inside of the private room and you know someone who's supposed to be in a private room, you better let them know it's going off right now. The reason why, if you carried a small notepad with you for the next 14 days and simply wrote down your response to everyone who asks you questions like, how are you doing? How's your day been so far? The reason why you would write down in your 100 or so entries, basically a large majority of the same thing. I'm doing good. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm blessed. Whatever your answers are, your catalog of answers. The reason why you would have a succinct catalog of answers, largely repeated, is because we repeat an overwhelming majority of thoughts in our brain. Now, why do we repeat an overwhelming majority of thoughts in our brain? I'm going to tell you the answer. The reason why we repeat an overwhelming majority of thoughts in our brain is because our brains are magnificent conflict resolution machines. Someone write in the comments the word brain. Someone throw in the emoji brain. You see, your brain, my brain, our brains are amazing, magnificent conflict resolution machines. What does that mean? I'm going to tell you what it means. It means that our brains discover, decipher, and deliver for us a very speedy mechanism of resolving conflict. Let me share with you one of the fastest ways to understand what a person will do in a situation or scenario. It's by understanding what they perceive as pain and understanding what they perceive as gain. Why? Because the brain is always attempting to resolve conflict in the fastest way. Now, here's something that most people would never tell you. The brain often chooses to escape pain over acquire gain. Oh, someone's going to get some value from that. You see, some of us are asking ourselves, listen, if I'm the sole breadwinner in my home, how comes I'm not generating enough income for my wife and my children? How comes I'm not doing what I know I should do? I know there's an opportunity to do this. Why am I not doing it? I know there was an opportunity to do that. Why am I not taking it? I'm going to tell you why you're not doing it and why you're not taking it, because your brain is a magnificent conflict resolution machine, and the brain often favors escaping pain over receiving gain. Which means the way we are wired is more intact with running from something instead of running towards something. You see, this is why it takes extensive psychological rewiring, extensive work on the neuroplasticity of soldiers in the SAS UK, in the Special Forces USA. This is why it takes some extensive training for people to rewire the neuroplasticity in their mind in order for them to be able to run at what we would perceive as danger. Run at the firing of a bullet. Run at the drama, the oppressor, in order to become a victor. It takes rewiring. It takes rewiring. Someone write in the comments, it's time to rewire. You see, today's session, I'm going to literally show you how to curate your own conflict catalog. You see, I submit to you that it's your catalog of vocabulary, which is a byproduct of your catalog of thoughts, which is the reason why most of us, when asked a question like, how are you doing today? We say, I'm doing fine. Or we say, I'm blessed. Or we say, whatever it is we say. Here's the question. Why don't we say a different thing every time? I'll tell you why. Because our brains are magnificent conflict resolution machines. I'm going to tell you a story. This week, my wife booked someone to come and have a look at our fireplace. Specifically for the purpose of sweeping the chimney sweeping. And yes, there were a lot of Mary Poppins jokes that were shared, right? So this gentleman came over to do the chimney sweeping in our property today. Or this week, excuse me. And he's cleaning the chimney. And those of you who follow my wife on Instagram, you might have seen her put it up as a story or something like that, right? So he's cleaning the chimney. And he starts to talk to us. And he asks Robbie, he says, oh, what do you do? And she says, oh, she used to be a teacher. And she talks about what she does now. And he asked me, what do I do? And I told him I used to be a teacher. I used to teach A-level and secondary maths. And I used to be a teacher trainer. I told him what I do now. And then he saw the children. He saw one child come through, good morning. He saw another child come through, good morning. He saw another child come through, good morning, right? So in total, he saw maybe about 4 or 5 of the children, right? So we asked, like, oh, how many children have you got? And we said, oh, we've got 6, okay? So he now said this statement, which is so profound, but I thought it was so relevant for what I prepared for today's session. He said, you must have the patience of a saint. He said, you must have the patience of a saint. And it was interesting because as he said this statement, you must have the patience of a saint, I started to explain to him something very simple. I said, listen, when I was a secondary and A-level math teacher, I said in my diary of classes, I would have over 214 students in an academic term /year. I would know all of those students' names. I would literally see those students as my own children. Those of you who are in education, you would have heard of the statement locus parenti, okay? Locus parenti. If you haven't heard of the statement locus parenti is the Latin statement which is a admonition, which means it's like a law, a principle that's placed upon schools and school staff. Locus parenti basically means that you are taking the location, locus, of parenthood, parenti, of the children in your care, okay? Now, I can't put my hands up and say every teacher I've met is or was doing a good job of that when I was a teacher trainer, but I can say it's an admonition that schools and educators have, locus parenti, and that is to take the location of the parent in place of the parent when the parent is not there, okay? This is one of the reasons I homeschool my children, okay? Because I haven't seen many educators in the school system, in the conventional school system, let me say that, who are genuinely taking locus parenti, right? Or maybe they are, but they're just not so serious about their own lives, so it's not going to filter through to the life of your children, right? So let's keep going. So this gentleman says, he's cleaning the chimney, and he says to me, he says, you must have the patience of a saint. So I start to explain to him, look, when I was a teacher trainer, I'd have 214 students I would have to take care of. I would take locus parenti for 214 students that were not mine. I didn't birth them, but I saw them as mine, okay? I said, now, as a homeschooling parent, I only have to take responsibility of 6 children in my home, and then the other children that I end up engaging with through means of our ministry endeavors and etc. Okay? That's locus parenti. And I basically said to him, this isn't about having the patience of a saint. This is about being strategic. See, I want you to think about that, guys. Some of us are taking care of other people's assets without taking care of our own assets and thinking it's going to be a byproduct of success. If someone's getting help right now, just let me know in the comments. This is the reason why we have to understand our brains are magnificent conflict resolution machines. Because if we place our brain in a place where there's pain, we will accept moderate pain over aspiring to real gain. Some of us have done that. There was a time I had done that. I had done that for multiple decades. For multiple decades, I, bit my tongue and went to work. A job that was unfulfilling. The children were amazing, the adults not so, okay? More politics experienced working with adults than actually working with the children in the schools I worked with, okay? And this is just to give you guys a glimmer and an insight. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I want you to understand how things work. I want you to understand our brains are magnificent conflict resolution machines. And because of the ways our brains are wired, unless we go to work on rewiring the brain, guess what's going to happen? Our brain will accept moderate pain instead of working towards true gain. Here's the question. Here's a question. Simple question. Do you want pain in any form or do you want gain? Someone tell me in the comments. Do you want pain or do you want gain? Okay? Simple question. And I'm not talking about greedy gain, gluttonous gain. I'm just talking about, do you want pain or do you want gain? If you have the opportunity to choose which one you're going to have, you need to know which one you desire. Now, some people say there's no gain without pain, okay? I'm here to say there's a different kind of gain you can get when you're focused on gain instead of focusing on pain. People that are focused on pain are never going to get gain. Why? Because they acclimatize themselves to the pain. You might start focused on the pain, but you don't always stay focused on the pain. Jesus said, it's for this thing that was set before me that I endure the cross. You see, Jesus had a clear destination in mind. It was the gain. And it was because of the gain, he said he was willing to endure the pain. He wasn't focused on the pain. Oh, someone's going to catch this. And this is how we're supposed to structure our ability to succeed. This is how we're supposed to navigate in order for us to rewire our minds using our ability, our knowledge, and our awareness of neuroplasticity in order to succeed. Let's go further. I want to jump into the scriptures, okay? You see, the sum total of what I was telling that gentleman when he said to me, you must have the patience of a saint, okay? Someone throw the word saint in the chat, right? Is our inputs determine our outputs, okay? And what most of us don't understand is most of us have been programmed by television programs. Okay, I'm going to say this one more time. Most of us have been programmed by television programs to output based on our curated inputs. Okay, think about that. You see, we live in a world where we do not realize that we are storing up a catalog of content. This is why I said to you guys that what we're doing here is we are curating our conflict catalog. Because if your brain has a master map of how to resolve conflict, and it does it based on a catalog of content, a catalog of information, a catalog or framework in which to deploy every time there's a potential perceived conflict, then you would want to know who's programmed your framework, your program for conflict resolution. And as I said, most of us have been programmed by television programs in terms of our conflict catalog. So most of us, when we face a challenging situation, whether it's how am I going to pay the bills this month, whether it's how am I going to double, triple, quadruple my revenue, whether it's how am I going to take care of this beautiful wife and children God has given me, whether it's how am I going to ascend in my spirituality to the level I know God desires for me, where I'm speaking with God daily, I'm praying daily, I'm in states of meditation, I'm not moving in mediocrity, I'm not living my life casually because I don't want to become a casualty. How am I going to do it? I'm going to tell you how you're going to do it. You're going to do it by recognizing that all our outputs are byproducts of curated, careful inputs. So the question is, who's curating your inputs? Because as I mentioned a moment ago, many of us have been programmed by the television programs. Let me give you a verse of scripture to help you with this. Let's go to Romans chapter 3. It's going to help somebody. Let's go. Romans chapter 3. I want you guys to see this in 3D. Okay? See this for yourself. Many of us have been programmed by television programs. And it's for us to recognize exactly what's going on so we can shift things from where they are. Okay? So, let me say this again. All of our outputs are a result, are a byproduct of our curated inputs. Okay, if you guys understand that in the private room, just write in the comments, I do. Because before we go into this verse of scripture, I don't want you to lose comprehension or understanding if you don't understand what I'm sharing. Okay, someone just say, I do, so I know I'm with the right people, so I know you're hearing this, right? And those of you joining us on the stream, I see I do's coming into the chat. Those of you joining us on the live stream, again, I do in the live stream, just so I know that you're following me before I go into this. Because I don't want to go into the verse of scripture and then you don't see what we're talking about because you're already confused, right? You need to have this clear, right? So everyone's saying I do. Okay, let's go into this, right? Romans chapter 3 verse 23 shows us something astounding. So I'm going to share with you exactly what it shares with us. Okay? Romans chapter 3, I'm going to read verse 23. It says, for all have sinned. Now, I would advise you to read the whole chapter. That's another piece of homework. Read the whole chapter in your own time. We're just going to jump into this right now so you can see exactly what I'm trying to highlight, right? Romans chapter 3 verse 23, it says, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. All right, so what does that mean, Samuel? One thing that means is that you already have a curated input. You see, when you show up in this planet, when you show up on this earth, you already have a curated input. What's the curated input? The curated input we all come into this earth with is sin. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, which means your starting point is already a curated input. So that curated input, sin, has a determined output. The Bible says lust bears forth sin, and sin, when it's fully conceived, produces, someone throw the answer in the chat. And for those of you who don't read the Bible, the answer is death. So what does that mean? That means, I see you, Tyrone. Tyrone threw it in, death. What does that mean? I'm going to tell you what it means. It means if your original, intentional, curated input is sin, then your automatic output is going to be deaf. This is why it's easy to be programmed by television programs. Why? Because all streams on that stream are going in the same direction. The reason why it's so simple to be programmed by television programs is because they're all going in the same direction as the predetermined input that most of humanity has. All humanity starts with the predetermined input of sin, which means the predetermined output for all humanity is death. Unless what, Samuel? What can make a change, Samuel? I'm going to tell you what can make a change. It's the very same thing that can allow you to have a key to double, triple, quadruple, or even more your revenue. It's the very same key that gives you the opportunity and the flexibility to find the bride of your life and be able to live happily ever after, as they say in the films. It's the very same key that allows you, if you don't have a spouse, to get a spouse who is the God-ordained partner for your life. It's the very same key. What's the key? Curate your inputs so that you know the catalog that has been curated for conflict resolution. You see, if you don't know what your brain is using as its catalog to literally combat conflict, you are destined to fail. Because when you experience a situation just like someone saying, how are you doing today? And you automatically say, I'm doing good. I'm fine. Let me tell you something. Some of us respond before we even think. Oh, if someone knows what I'm talking about, just write in the comments, I do. Some of us have been asked the question, and because we have already determined in our mind, this is going to be my throw out there answer, some of us are answering questions before we even think. Now, why is this important? Because what if you're doing that with your finances? What if you're doing that with your relationships? What if you're doing that with your parenting? What if you're doing that with all of your decisions? And here's the real kicker. And what if you're wrong? What if your predetermined answer is wrong? What if the thing you've said is going to be the thing you say is not the right thing for someone like you who desires to achieve what you say you want to achieve to say? Then we've got a problem. And the reason we have a problem is because we haven't determined that we're going to curate our own conflict catalog. You see, I remember a coach sharing this with me 20 years ago. The coach shared with me that most people imprisoned in the US of A have a challenge with one thing, and that's illiteracy. You see, it made me discover something. It made me discover that illiteracy has an impact on your possibility. Okay? I'm going to share that again. I want you to think about that. Illiteracy has an impact on your possibilities. You see, by you improving the way you create your conflict catalog, you are literally improving your ability to transform yourself out of illiteracy, and as a result, input, illiteracy, shift your output, your possibilities. You see, most people don't work on the inputs. They're just focused on the outputs. But they don't understand by changing your inputs, you automatically change your outputs. So this coach said to me, he said, illiteracy, numerous studies have been done and showed that illiteracy has an impact on people's possibilities. If you don't have a way to express yourself, you are not going to be able to determine your ability to progress. How we express determines if we're able to progress. And this is what the coach was saying to me 20 years ago. He was saying, Samuel, listen, the reason so many people are in prison in the US of A is because they haven't found a way to express. They don't know how to express themselves verbally, so they express themselves physically, aggressively. And through expressing themselves physically and aggressively, they're stopped from being able to progress. You see, I started to discover this 20 years ago that, hold on a minute, if I had an impact on my ability to express, does that mean I'll have a direct impact on my ability to progress? The answer to that is yes. So that's what I started to work on. That's what I encourage you to work on. Here's the funniest thing. Romans chapter 3 verse 23, for all have sinned. So if all of us have this challenge with our ability to express, because we all started in the starting point of sin, how do some of us transform our ability to progress, because some of us work on shifting ourselves out of the input. If the original input was sin, there's a possibility we can combat sin in order to get the real thing. So you might be asking yourself, Samuel, what's the real thing? The real thing in the Bible, according to the scriptures, is righteousness, doing things the right way. The real thing, according to the Bible, if you read the scriptures, is holiness, walking circumspectly before God, walking in a way that's clean before God. Now, some of you who are super religious or heard of religion might be saying to yourself, oh, but Samuel, are you telling me I can't do anything? Are you telling me my life's going to become boring? No, your life becomes more fun because you become the one who's done what you need to get done. You see, you stop looking at life from a perspective that many people look at it and say, oh no, you see those Christians, their life is boring. And you start realizing that their life is probably more fun because they're having a direct impact on their inputs. They're actually working the inputs to produce some outputs instead of being programmed by the programs. Oh, someone's going to catch this. So let's go deeper, because what I want to do is I want to give you guys the keys, and I'm also mindful of time is being fast spent, all right? So let's use Jesus as an example, great example, right? Jesus would say things like, I only do what I see the Father do. Why would he say that? I'm going to tell you why. Because what he was saying was, I'm working on my inputs. I only do what I see the Father do. Okay? He's working on his inputs. Here's a question. Are you working on your inputs? Have you been working on your inputs? Or have you solely been focused on your outputs? Let's go to Matthew. I want us to deep dive into this. Let's go to Matthew chapter 8, okay? We're going to go to Matthew chapter 8. I'm going to start jumping into this because I want to give you a formula that's going to work for you in order to help you curate your conflict catalog, your whole conflict catalog. But I want to show you how this works in real life, right? Because if you don't see how it works in real life, if you don't have a non-example and a real example, you might not be able to catch this for yourself, right? If something I've shared is helping someone today already, just let me know in the comments. Those of you who are joining us live on YouTube, let us know as well. And you can share, you can like, you can hit subscribe and do all of that YouTube stuff as well, right? So let's go. The key is curating your own conflict catalog. This is the key. This is the key. The same way you built up your vocabulary and your Rolodex of I'm fine or I'm blessed or I'm all good or things are well, right? You can do the same thing with other aspects of your life. This is why people used to wear those bracelets, the WWJD bracelets. For those of you who don't know what that stood for, it stood for what would Jesus do? It was a mental reminder, a physical, practical reminder to trigger the mind to ask yourself, what would Jesus do in this situation? What would Jesus do in that situation? Why? Because the neuroplasticity through means of the reminder from the bracelet was supposed to help the person shift how they think and change the curation of their conflict catalog. Oh, someone's catching this. All right? So this is exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking about how do you actually do this from a biblical perspective. Because if you do want to double your income, if you do want to triple your income, if you do want to quadruple your income, if you do want to be a better husband, if you do want to, if for the women who might be tuned into this on the live stream, if you do want to be a better wife, if you want to be a better parent, let me tell you how you do all of that. You do all of that by curating your conflict catalog. Don't let the programs program your conflict catalog. Instead, create your own. Let's go. Matthew chapter 8. I'm going to read verse 23 and we'll go probably all the way to 27. Let's go. Okay? So many secrets in here, but watch this. And when he was entered into a ship, talking about Jesus, his disciples followed him. I want to draw this out because I want you guys to see this, right? So let's say this is Jesus. Okay? And let's say these are his disciples. Okay? Now, the first thing that's profound here, it says, and when he entered into a ship, right? So Jesus is going into, according to what we just read, a ship, okay? And this is just a very quick drawing, okay? Please don't judge me. Just pray for me, okay? So Jesus goes into this ship, and I'm drawing this really quickly for a reason, okay? The reason I'm drawing this really quickly is because I want you to just see this thing. I don't want you to just hear it. I want you to see it and recognize it and see what's going on. So he's going into a ship, but guess what? His disciples are following him. They're following him, okay? Now, this is why this is so important, because you could be following someone, but not using their principles to create your conflict catalog. You can be following someone, but yet have a different set of principles for your conflict catalog. You can be following someone, oh, someone needs to hear this. You can be following someone and still have a faulty conflict resolution mechanism, even though the person you're following has a appropriate conflict resolution mechanism. I hope that helps someone. Let's go deeper. So it says, verse 23, and when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. Watch this, 24. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea. Okay, so what this is basically saying is, let's just draw some waves, right? Some waves, right? And let's give these waves some energy, right? So this is basically saying, whilst he's sleeping, well, we're gonna get to that in a moment, right? But the tempest, the winds, the water's going wild. Let me just put it that way, right? So you guys can hear what I'm talking about. The water's going wild. Let's go deeper. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves, all right? Just like I've drawn. You guys can see that, right? Okay? So he's gone into this ship. He's taken these guys with him. The disciples are following him. And whilst the disciples are following him, guess what it says? It says that the waves go wild. The waves go wild. The waves are going wild so much so that they're covering the ship. Okay? Just like I've drawn. Hope someone's with me, right? Watch this. It gets deeper. 25. And his disciples came to, last part of 24, so powerful. Insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. All right, so watch this. This is what's powerful, right? So, Jesus, it says, based on his conflict resolution mechanism, is going through a storm and is asleep. Sleeping, right? Now, why is he sleeping? I submit to you, he's probably sleeping because it's nighttime. Okay, some of you, why was Jesus sleeping in the storm? It was nighttime, it was bedtime. He was sleeping, right? He was doing what you're supposed to do at that time, right? I assume, okay? Now, here's the funniest thing. This is so powerful. He's sleeping, but someone tell me, guys, what are they? They're not sleeping. Oh, this is so good. This is making me think about some problems people have. Listen, here's a question I've got for you, right? What keeps you up at night? Oh, someone just got a wake up call right there. What keeps you up at night? Why? It's going to help you in terms of doing what we're going to be breaking down that you need to do to curate your own conflict catalog. What keeps you up at night? Think about that. What keeps you up at night? Here's the funniest thing. A storm was keeping them up whilst he was asleep. All right, let's go deeper, right? And this is part of the reason why if you've got a coach, don't expect your coach to cry at the things you cry about. You see, there's been times in the past, let me talk about myself, I don't want to talk about anyone else. There's been times in the past where I've paid handsomely for a coach to coach me. I've paid handsomely. This is a check because the $100 ain't enough. This is a check. There's times in the past I've paid handsomely for a coach to coach me. And I've had some challenges on the journey in the coaching. And I've said to the coach, listen, I got some challenges, right? In some words like that, right? And they haven't acted as though they're challenged. They haven't acted as though their problem is my problem, or my problem is their problem. Or as Robbie I Can Win says, don't let other people's problem become your priorities. They haven't acted like my problem had become their priority. You see, I want you guys to understand this. Look at this. This is beautiful. Tyrone says fear, worry, anxiety, unanswered questions, and the like. These are the things that keep people up at night. Okay? Reginald goes in. Reginald says, don't expect your coach to cry about the things you cry about. Right? I want you guys to understand this is a reality. Jesus was sleeping whilst these guys were creeping. Jesus was asleep. Oh, someone's going to catch this. Why? He had a different set of criteria in his conflict catalog. Oh, someone's going to get this right now. You see, in his conflict catalog, a storm isn't enough to keep you up at night. I want you to think about that for a moment. Is there someone who their conflict catalog doesn't keep them up at night based on how they have curated it, versus the things that keep you up at night based on what you have allowed to curate it? Don't be programmed by the programs. Let's go deeper. 25 again. And his disciples came to him and awoke him. So they're waking him out of his sleep. They are directly impacting his decision based on their decision. Okay? Watch this. Saying, Lord, save us. We're dying. Now, look, here's the thing that's crazy, right? The actual Bible said, Lord, save us, we perish, okay? We perish, which means we're dying, okay? Now, watch this. This is so profound, and hopefully someone's going to catch this. And if you catch this, just throw a comment in at some point, right? Here, I want you to see this, right? They have a conflict catalog which tells them this storm is killing them. So they wake him up and they say, we're dying. Now, earlier on, I read to you Romans 3. And from Romans 3, I said to you, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And I said to you that we know the output from sin as an input is death. So here's the thing that's interesting. They're saying the byproduct of what they're experiencing is death. They're saying they're going to die. They're saying they're dying. That's literally what they said. We perish. Okay? That was their conflict resolution catalog. That was the expanse of it. That was their ability to articulate what they were going through. Lord, save us. We're dying. Okay? Because of the thing that they perceived as bigger than them. Because of the thing they perceived as big enough to make them cry. Because of the thing that they were afraid of. Let's go deeper. 26. Here's where the juice comes. And he said unto them, why are you fearful? He went further to say, O ye of little faith. Then he arose. He actually got up. He made a decision. He arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. Oh Lord, this is so good, right? Because I get to do this. I'm going to show you this because I want to show you this. He rebuked that. He actually used words. He spoke to the sea and the storm, and there became, oh, you guys, this is so good. There became a great calm. There became a great calm. You see, what does that mean? That means the things that troubled them, he didn't allow to trouble him. Imagine if you curated a conflict catalog which resulted in the things that trouble most don't trouble you. The things that trouble others aren't troubling you. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You are not troubled by what they're troubled by. Now, because I'm mindful of time, we are literally super stretched on time. I didn't even realize the time was running past. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start breaking this down real quickly for you guys to have exactly what I'm talking about, right? So here's the first part. The first thing we're going to need to do to start to curate our own conflict catalog, okay, is forensically, okay? And I'm saying this because this is literally how we have to do it. We have to do it like a forensic scientist, like someone who's doing an autopsy, who's literally taking a scalp, right, and literally digging in to find this thing. We need to forensically find our fear, okay? We need to do this forensically. Gideon's a great example of this, Judges chapter 6 to Judges chapter 8. Gideon meets an angel. The angel says to him, yo, you're a mighty guy. Yo, you're a winner. Yo, you're going to make this thing happen. He says, no, wrong one. And through the dialogue, Gideon is able to forensically find the thing he was afraid of. He's able to realize, oh, I was just afraid. Okay? Forensically find the fear. Someone throw in the comments the word fear. Okay? That's the first thing we need to do. This is what Jesus said to them. He said, look, listen to this. Matthew 8:26, and he saith unto them, why are you fearful? So this is where it starts, guys. It starts by forensically finding the fear. Some of yous are trying to do step 2 when you haven't done step 1. Good question. So what is step 2? Let's go into step 2. The second thing you need to do after you forensically find the fear, forensically find the thing that is keeping you afraid, stopping you from being made, is you need to foster a fountain or fountains of faith. You need to become someone who says to themselves, similar to Joshua, as for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. You need to become someone who operates with faith. The Bible says in the New Testament, it says that faith is the substance of the things that we hope for, yet the evidence of things not yet seen. Let me tell you something. Whilst that storm was overshadowing the ship, these people were not thinking about the things they couldn't see. Someone write in the comments the word faith. The first thing you need to do is forensically find what is the fear. What are you afraid of? But then you need to start to foster fountains of faith. You need to literally be someone who your faith is bubbling over. You need to be someone who, when people come around you, your faith is so strong, it's literally contagious. People are like, why is this guy's faith so strong? Why does he believe so much? Why does he know he's going to do this? Why is it? That needs to be you. That needs to be your story. Why? Because you have fostered fountains of faith. Let's go deeper, okay? The last step is very simple, because the last step is where you marry the two of the first two steps. And that is, what you need to do is you need to be able to follow your faith fearlessly. You see, you need to get to stage 3. Stage 3 is where you follow your faith fearlessly. Someone write in the comments, follow. You see, the disciples, it said, were following Jesus, but the disciples didn't have the faith like Jesus. They needed to follow their faith fearlessly, without fear, without prejudice, without, oh, but what if they do this to me? What if they do that to me? No, you need to follow your faith fearlessly. Someone write in the comments the word follow. Now, the reason why this is so important is, again, we see this with Gideon. Gideon has a very similar experience where Gideon has to leave thousands of soldiers to go to war with a few hundred. How did he do that? I'll tell you how he did it. He forensically found what he was afraid of. He fostered the fountain of his faith, and he was able to follow his faith fearlessly. Now, some of you are going to say, but Samuel, you know what? Like, I've been working on this. But how do I make this work for me? So I'm going to give you these quick 3 keys, because this is how we take this whole framework I've just given you and literally make it manifest for you in a way that you've probably never seen before. All right? So here are 3 simple ways to start to literally curate your own conflict catalog in a way that's effective, right? Biblically effective. And you find, look, just so you guys know, right? You find this in the book of Joshua. Joshua chapter 1. We can go there. Let's go there. I know we're light on time, but let's go there, because I want you to see it for yourself. Joshua chapter 1, and I'm just going to pull this out for you from verse 7 and verse 8. I want you to see this for yourself. Joshua chapter 1, okay? Joshua chapter 1, jumping in. Hope you're ready. Joshua chapter 1, verse 7. It says, only be strong and very courageous. Now, again, time for the context. Guys, homework. Go read Joshua. Go read Genesis all the way over to Deuteronomy. That's 5 books. And then read the book of Joshua. All right? Or just at least read Joshua chapter 1. And then you discover who Joshua was and why this is so relevant to all of us, right? But watch this. It says, Joshua chapter 1 verse 7. It says, only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the law which Moses, my servant, commanded you. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. We haven't even got through 7. We haven't even got into 8. And we're already seeing the first key to curate your own conflict catalog. What's the first key? The first key is make your mind up about your map. That's key number 1. And this is what most people don't do. Make your mind up about your map. What are you following? Make your mind up. Listen to what God said to Joshua. He said, only be strong and courageous so you can follow all the things that Moses said to you in the law. That's your map. Be strong and courageous. Why? Because sometimes you're going to struggle to be able to follow faith fearlessly. Sometimes you're going to struggle when people are going to tell you, oh, is that thing real? Oh, is that thing true? Oh, does that thing work? So make up your mind about your map before people tell you what they're going to tell you. Make your mind up about your map. That's the first step. Joshua chapter 1 verse 7. Okay, now there's more. This is the great thing. There's more. Let's keep going. Verse 7 again. Which Moses, my servant, commanded you. So God says to him, listen, you need to be confident. You need to be strong. You need to be courageous. That you may observe, that means pay attention to. Do, that means start to act, which is going to be a byproduct of paying attention to. According to all of the law. The law is the map. So make your mind up about your map. That's step 1. Let's go deeper. Which Moses, my servant, commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever it goes. So this goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Those of you who want to double your income, triple your income, quadruple your income. Those of you who want to have a better marriage. Those of you who want to be better parents. Those of you who want to be better leaders, ministers. Those of you who want to live on purpose, live like no one else so you can live like no one else. If that's you, let me tell you something. You need to make your mind up about your map. But there's more. Because he said, if you do all this stuff, guess what's going to happen? You're going to prosper. But here's the more. Once you make your mind up about your map, this is what you've got to do. You've got to meditate on your mantra. Meditate on your mantra. Samuel, what do you mean? I'm so glad you asked. Inside of whatever your map is, there's going to be a path. That becomes your mantra. I'm going here. I'm going here. I'm going here. Jesus said, for the joy that was set before me, I'm going to endure the cross. This is what the disciples said about him. This is what the apostles said about him. They said for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. That becomes a mantra. That becomes the mantra. I'll endure the cross because of the joy. I'll endure the cross because of the joy. It becomes the mantra. This is what God was saying to Joshua. He says, make your mind up about your map. Make a decision on what you're going to follow. Then when you make a decision, meditate on your mantra. Whatever is your path, meditate on it. Think about it. In the book of Psalms, Psalm 119, I believe it's in verse 99 or 97 or 98. It's around there, right? David said something so profound. He said, because I meditate on your word, I'm wiser than my teachers. Oh my gosh, this is so powerful. Why? Because David had made up his mind on his map and then was able to switch gears into meditating on his mantra. Meditating on the thing that he knew was going to work for him. Now, here's the third step, because there's more, right? Joshua chapter 1, verse 7. Let's read verse 8, because here's another piece of the key. Verse 8, this book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth. That's meditating on your mantra, right? But listen to this. But you shall meditate therein day and night. That's meditating on your mantra, right? Listen to this. That you may observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall have good success. What is the third key that I want to give to you? The third key is once you've made your mind up about your map, once you've meditated on your mantra, you just have to do something which is super simple. Let me show you what it is. You just need to make the most of your mission, because we've all got one. Make the most of your mission. You are on this earth for a reason. You are on this earth for a reason. But here's the problem. You're only on this earth for a season. You are on this earth for a reason, but the problem is you're only on this earth for a season. So if you know you're on this earth for a reason, but you know you're only in this planet, on this earth for a season, let me tell you something. You need to decide to make the most of your mission. Because when your time's up, unfortunately or fortunately, ladies and gentlemen, your time is up. These three keys are how you will make your way prosperous. With that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up the session. If you're joining us on the live stream, feel free to let us know in the comments how you got value from this session. If you're someone in the private room, we're going to close out the live stream and then we're going to open it up for questions, comments, key takeaways, as we usually do in the private room. With that being said, I'll say it again. If you're someone, who hasn't, for some reason, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't hit like, but you got value from this content, hit like. If you got more than one lesson from this content, don't just hit like, also leave a comment sharing with us at least one of those lessons so we can share and we can care. For those who are using a private room, I'm going to see you in a minute. Good day. God bless. Let's go.